Hi, Martin here again. I just want to talk about some alternative treatments and therapies that are available for people with mental illness. And one of the greatest travesties of our era is that people with mental illness are subscribed pharmaceutical drugs that are very toxic and nasty and really debilitating for people, and they cause a lot of weight gain and have a lot of horrific side effects, and people actually die either prematurely or they die through taking these medications, and the warnings on the labels and from the doctors are very, very minimal, and you probably wouldn't know this. For me, I had a mental illness, and I went down the road of antipsychotics and antidepressants, and I developed a muscular problem in my legs and in my arm. So I was basically forced to come off these medications after being on them for 6 years. And it was a very slow process, and I did it with my GP, but I found a lot of alternative solutions to being on these medications, and I feel very sorry. I feel very sorry for people, a lot of the other people that I've met that know about these alternative pathways to treat mental illness, but are not well enough to, or do not have enough desire or willpower to actually make it a reality that they can come off these medications or not be on them in the first place. But I used a whole variety of things. One of the things that I used was a cranial magnet. I used that for a period of 2 years. I just wore it out. I mean, that helped with the withdrawal process from the antipsychotics and the antidepressants. It stabilised my mood. It helped with a lot of things, the cranial magnet, which you can have a look on Altered State's website. They only sell them in certain places, but in Europe the cranial magnets are actually used in the chemists over the counter, but I live in Australia, and they're not accessible. The pharmaceutical companies have got such a strong hold on the market here for mental illness, and that these devices have to be imported from overseas. And I spent hours researching the cranial magnet. But apart from that, that's one tool or device. But vitamins, what people don't know about vitamins is if you buy a vitamin over the counter, it doesn't have a lot of therapeutic value. People take multivitamins, I think, more for a sense of well-being, but I don't think it would affect your overall health in general unless you take vitamins in slightly higher doses. When you take them in slightly higher doses, they're called orthomolecular medicine, and I was lucky to actually work with a doctor who helped me over a period of 4 years, who was a orthomolecular specialist, but he had to keep the fact that he treated people with vitamins, and he had to keep it a secret, and one of his friends actually got struck off for giving people vitamins and not prescribing nasty antidepressants and antipsychotics. And look, I mean, if you need to take antipsychotics and antidepressants, take them by all means. Who am I to judge? But if you look at the statistics of what these drugs really do to people, then you've got to open your eyes and make an informed decision. And if you have no other alternative, then then take them. But they were only ever meant to be a window medication. They were never meant for people to be on them long term. And people stay on them for years and years and then wonder why they're obese and die of a heart attack at the age of 50 or 55 years of age. But anyway, the doctor that I went to see, he used to do it quite secretively, but I searched and searched and searched for practitioners, not only doctors but counsellors, therapists, psychologists, herbalists, for anyone who had experience with treating people with persistent voices or mental illness. And he was the only guy he'd been a medical practitioner for 30 years. He was the only guy that I could find out of searching over a 2-year period that said he had treated people with persistent voices and auditory hallucinations, which I was suffering from, and he had some success, and the only way to do it was to change the diet and to do it through vitamins. And it's taken me a real long time. I've actually been off the medication for nearly 2 years now. But to get a more alkaline diet and just to reduce sugar out of the diet has been a very, very uphill battle. Because the problem with the antipsychotics and the antidepressants, they shut down your autoimmune system. They shut down your body's natural response mechanisms. They shut down your psychospiritual systems. They shut down these energy systems in your body. And when you come off them, it actually takes a year or two for all of that to start working back up. And the immune system has to be built up with vitamin C, for example. But no one will tell you this if you're suffering from anxiety or depression, or if you're going through a low phase in your life. The doctor won't say, hey, listen, you know, these medications cause muscle retardation and they can cause you severe problems. You know, and they also cause another thing called tranquilizer psychosis. So what that means, if you go to the doctor and you start feeling anxious and you're depressed, and he'll offer you these medications, but the medications themselves, they have the side effect of creating more anxiety and depression. They create that. That's called tranquilizer psychosis. But I learned all this stuff in my journey, you know, and so anyway, going back to vitamins. One of the ways that you can start the vitamin treatment is to get a blood test and find out what vitamins and minerals are deficient in your system. And I did this, so I did 1 or 2 blood tests every year for a period of 4 years. And the profile changes, you know, it might be iron or vitamin B. It moves along because once you actually take the vitamin that your body's deficient with, after a small period of time, after a month or 2 or 3, you know, your brain chemistry actually starts creating what it needs to create, so you don't need to keep taking that vitamin. And so anyway, my first indication of coming off antidepressants was when I got a muscular problem, tardive dyskinesia, which is a severe muscular problem which is caused through antidepressants, whereby it's also known as restless leg syndrome, but this isn't quite the same thing. It's a muscle retardation which is very similar to the effects of Parkinson's. So anyway, when I was being prescribed Valium, I was on antidepressants and antipsychotics, and this muscle retardation was just getting worse and worse. And then what the doctors do is then they treat it with clozapine, which is another toxic antidepressant, and you have to go to the hospital and have an injection. And this also creates tranquilizer psychosis. And it's quite severe, but it stops this muscle retardation. And I just knew I had to come off these medications. And one of the first steps of the vitamin treatment was replacing the Valium with the magnesium. And once I knew that the magnesium did the same job, I then moved from magnesium to vitamin E. I found that vitamin E stopped this muscle cramping. And once I knew that I didn't need to take benzos, I also thought I can apply this vitamin treatment. Vitamins are strong enough and do work with the body at a deep enough level to work with the other issues. And so that's really where my journey began. And then I got a blood test, and I made sure all the vitamins and minerals were balanced in my mind and my body. And then I slowly reduced over a period of 2 years off the antidepressant, and I used the cranial magnet, and that would help a lot. And getting off the antidepressant was easy. In comparison, getting off this antipsychotic was much more difficult because I was really psychotic, and underneath all of that was trauma. You know, it was unaddressed trauma that was creating the psychosis. And so, you know, coming off the antipsychotics is another story. I'm not going to go into that into this video, but this is just a brief introduction to how to begin the journey with vitamins. But you need a good GP. You need a GP that is discreet and in your corner. And you know, I actually, with the side effects and the problems that I had, you know, the pharmaceutical companies, I was actually approached by solicitors to sue the pharmaceutical companies, but so few of us have actually got through to a point of developed wellness that there aren't enough people in Australia to actually create a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies. And in all fairness to them, I was warned, and at the time I was having a nervous breakdown, and there was no other alternative for me to other than to go on this medication. So it was useful at the time, but I just got stuck on it, and then it stole years of my life. And then I didn't realise how incredibly difficult it would be to come off it, because I really would have to face the core issues within me, the stuff that I'd been running away from for a really long time, and it was just terrifying. And one of the reasons that I had the nervous breakdown in the first place was because that I had no sense of internal safety. And I pulled out all this stuff from my childhood and my past, which was very traumatic, and I had no mechanisms of dealing with it. But when I was mature enough and balanced enough and I came off these medications, I dealt with this stuff. But even coming off the medications, when I came off the medications, I was suicidal at that point. And that forced me to look into other areas to address the core issues. So, but vitamins and the cranial magnet and acupuncture also, and they were the starts of the journey. And one of the saddest things for me is that I've seen people that that are homeless and suffer from mental illness. I saw a guy today and his hands were shaking, and I knew that was a side effect of being on some medication. And so it's kind of inspired me to make a video and to start sharing some of my experience about this. And I've also got some books if anyone's interested. They're only small books and you can purchase them on the e-book readers for $4 or $5. They're inexpensive. So it's just really about sharing my experience, because so few people actually make it through the whole process. I mean, when I was growing up, the trauma was horrific, and I've managed to come through that and process a lot of this stuff, and I don't think I'll need to be on these medications ever again. I don't think that will ever be necessary, but the way to find the path to changing your reality, to changing out of this, it's got to be done gradually and slowly, and you have to be dogged and determined and persistent. And I'd really handed my life over to doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists and to these medications. I'd given all my power away fundamentally, because I was not prepared to look at what was deep within me, and it scared me, it frightened me, and I just couldn't handle feeling it. It was too much for me. And slowly, I've clawed my power back, but it requires a constant work and focusing the mind to work on it continually on a daily basis. And that's the thing. And all the illusions and the fantasies that the society was going to take care of me, and someone was looking out for me and looking after me, and that all those ideas had to be broken and changed and rearranged. And thank you for listening to this video. I hope it was informative towards your healing and growth.